Hi, it's Lori from Coast to Coast Craft Girls coming to you from the West Coast. Today I wanted to share a little Christmas letters to Santa mailbox that I made. Spin it around. Use the 'Twas the Night Before Christmas paper pad and a bunch of poinsettias. The little door opens and closes. Just like that. Let me show you how it's made. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start by making the base of for the mailbox to sit in. And what I did is I took two, and it's basically just a box. And I built the thing essentially off of boxes. So it's pretty straightforward and easy to construct. But I'm going to go a little bit slower. The video might be a little bit slower than some of my normal videos because I want to make sure that it's clear. So you need 2 pieces of cardstock that are 8 by 8 and score with your scoring board on the box lid side and base side, 2 inches in on all the way around, just like you would normally box. So essentially you're going to have a box that's 4 by 2, 4 by 4, 2 inches deep, top and bottom. On the base, go ahead and construct the base just like you normally would. But on the top, don't construct it yet because we've got to do some work to it. First, I'm going to go ahead and mat and layer. And I just cut some strips of cardstock. And one of these is actually too small, but I don't care because it's kind of mostly be covered up anyway. So I'm not too worried about it. But let's go ahead and mat and layer those pieces on. So these are 2 inches by 4 inch strips. So whatever cardstock you want to use. This is cardstock from Crafter's Companion, 'Twas the Night Before Christmas collection. And then the green is just some green linen cardstock that I had. And I actually didn't realize it when I cut these out of a 12 by 12 and this one out of an 8 by 8, and they're slightly different colors, but it's all right because it's not really going to be noticeable. By the time you get all of the decoration on there, you're not going to notice it. So go ahead and get that mat and layered because it's just easier to do when it's flat. Now this is the important part. On the box lid side, not the base, the lid side, you're going to cut a 2-inch square hole right in the middle of it. So what I did is I kind of went and marked at the 1-inch mark and the 3-inch line on each I was going to say seam. It's not a seam, that's sewing. On each score line. And then we're just going to connect those up. And I hope you can see this with my pencil on the camera. But I'm going to do the same thing each direction. And I don't care that I'm going to mark that up because it's not going to show anyway because it's going to be the inside of my base. If you wanted to erase it after, when you're done, you can. But so that gives me my 2-inch square right in the middle. So I'm going to take my craft knife. You could use a paper cutter if you want, but I find it just as easy to use a craft knife. And we're just going to cut out that square. And we actually want to cut it just kind of a little on the large side. So on the outside of your pencil lines. Because what you're going to put on the inside is 2 inches by 2 inches. And so you don't want it exactly, you want it tight, but not like so tight that you can't get the little post part in. Okay. You can always adjust. We're not going to put it together until we kind of make sure that everything fits. So, and then just punch that out. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and construct my box lid. I did not mat and layer the top part of it because there's only an inch all the way around, so it would be a pretty small mat layer, and I'm going to decorate it all up anyway, so the decorations are pretty much going to cover it. So, I mean, you could, if you wanted to mat and layer it, I would do it before you cut the 2x2 hole. I think it would be a lot easier because it's going to be hard to mat and layer once you get that cut, but I'm not going to do that. So let's get that all constructed. And then here's my base, and I already did that. So this is just a, you know, basically a 4x4 2-inch deep box, just like that. Okay, but I'm going to do one more thing. What did I do? There it is. So I cut a piece of cardboard that's just like 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, and I'm going to glue it into the base, and that just gives me a little bit more rigid base to because I'm going to hot glue my post in there. And so just the cardboard, I think, just gives you a little bit more you know, rigid, sturdy base to glue to. So glue is, and I just cut it about 1/4 of an inch smaller. If you wanted, like, this is going to be closed up and you're not really going to be easily be able to see in there. If you cared, you could cut another square of green, or you could wrap that cardboard in the green cardstock. I don't care, it's not going to show. So just put that in there, and we're going to set that aside to dry. And then we're going to work on the post. So the post is a piece of cardstock that's 8.5 by 8. And on the 8.5, so this is 8.5 by 8 inches high. On the 8.5 inch side, you're going to score it 2, 4, 6, and 8. So that gives you a 2-inch post with a 1/2 inch glue tab. Okay, and I'm going to mat and layer those before I glue it together too. And I just cut, this is that same paper, but it's the other side, and I'm going to use this side. And I think I actually cut these going together, so they essentially match. And you can see that they're too short, but that's because this is going to go inside the bottom of the box. So I'm going to skew them to the top because this part's not going to show anyway. And I wanted them, these are only 6 inches high. Oh, actually they're 7, but it's because I needed the other part of that, the other piece of this paper pad for other matting and layering. And so I didn't want to waste a whole nother sheet. So, and this isn't going to show anyway, so I don't really care. And my Crafter's Companion paper pads are precious to me, and I don't like to waste them. So we're going to skew these to the top. Now the top part of this is going to go inside a box on the top as well, so you don't have to put it right at the top. It's gonna, the top 1/2 inch is going to be hidden. So, and once we get that the mat and layers done, and again, it's just easier to do before you construct it, then we're gonna flip this over, put some tacky glue on that glue strip. And you could use red liner tape or tape pen or whatever you prefer. I usually like to use tacky glue when I'm constructing stuff. And then just fold that over, and if you've scored and folded straight, it should close perfectly. And it did. That's a good sign. Okay, so that's your center post. Now, before I do anything, I'm going to make sure that this fits inside of there. So you can do it either way. Go down from the top or from the bottom, whichever. From the bottom. And you're just going to, you want to get it in there and make sure it's going to go without deforming the center post. And yep, that looks pretty good. Okay, so see how that goes in? Just like that. Okay. Now we're just going to leave that on there like that and set it to side. Now we're going to work on the top, or the bottom of the mailbox, which is going to sit on top of the post. Now again, we're going to create a box. This is a 5x7 box that's, or a 4x6 box that's 1/2 inch deep. So you cut 2 pieces of cardstock that are 5x7, and you score 1/2 inch all the way around on the box lid and on the box base side. Now this time, go ahead and make your box lid. This is your box lid, and I've went ahead and did that. And then on my box base, I'm going to cut my 2-inch hole. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did before, except this is a 4x6. So I gotta, and because it's a box base, if you stick your ruler on the score lines, it's actually a little bit shy of 6. So center, whatever you do, just kind of center it up. And then we're going to come in 2 inches on the 6-inch side. And then on the 4-inch side, we'll come in just 1 inch. And from each side. So 1 and 3 on the 4-inch side. And again, connect your lines up. Okay. That gives you your 2-inch square hole right in the middle. So again, take your paper trimmer or your craft knife, whichever you prefer, and we're going to cut out that hole. And again, cut on the outside of your pencil lines so that you've got enough room for that 2-inch square tube to fit in there without getting squished. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and, I'm going to, before I even glue this together, I'm going to make sure that it fits over my hole. It's going to go on like that. Yep, that fits good. Okay, so let's go ahead and assemble our box. Again, you assemble your box exactly like you would normally make a box. It's just you've cut an aperture in on this one in the base. Just a little skinny box. And this is going to form the bottom of your mailbox. Now, just like on that bottom with that cardboard, I cut a piece of cardboard to go on the inside of the lid of this one because the tube is going to glue onto that. So let's go ahead and glue that in. That just gives it some nice rigidity. Okay, now is the time to plug in your hot glue gun because we're going to assemble our little mailbox. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put this piece on the post this way before we glue the post into place. So let's get that in. And just kind of push those together just like that. Because once you glue this on, then you're not going to be able to get those in. So put those on first. And then we just want to put some glue down the edges. And it's going to be hidden in the box, so I'm not too worried about how neat it looks. But you just want to get each of the edges. And then you're going to stand it up. But you want to get the lid down so that you get it right in the right place. Because if you glue it to the bottom in the wrong place, then it's not going to work. Okay. So now I got that piece down. It's glued down. My base is shut. Now, if you want, you can, put some glue inside these so that it won't open, but it's not going to come apart, so I'm not too worried about it. Now you're going to do the same thing on this one. We're going to put glue on here. Then we're going to put that lid on and put the box together. So get this up there. So it's about in place. Then we're going to put some hot glue right around this edge. And again, if it's not very neat, it's going to be hidden inside that box, so I don't think it's too big of a concern. Then we're going to get our box put together and push it together. Now on this one, I am going to glue the box together because gravity will cause that to come apart. And you can use your hot glue, but I'm just going to use some tacky glue. And that's essentially the end of the hot glue, I think. But I'm just going to tuck some tacky glue in here. In a couple spots to kind of hold it together. Now we're going to make, so that's the base, our post, the bottom of our mailbox. Now we're going to make the mailbox itself. And I've got a sheet of 6x12 cardstock, and I went ahead and matted and layered it. And we're going to glue it onto this piece, but on the bottom, on that edge. And then we're going to curve it around and glue it on that piece. And that's going to form our mailbox. Okay, so it's just 6x12, 6 inches by 12. Okay, so let's start with our, actually, I'm going to, and you got 1/2 inch to glue to. Almost said nail to, but it's not nails. And get it lined up perfect before that. And you want it line that square here and here. That's good. We're just gonna give that a second to grab. And then I'm gonna pull this up and glue this side on exactly the same way, just like that. Okay. So with this one, I can put the glue on here. As you can see, we're getting close. So pull that up, get it lined up, square, and just hold on to it, let that tacky glue. Now it's because I use patterned paper, so when you use patterned paper, make sure you pay attention, because if it was a 12 by 12 sheet that had pattern, you know, all the way up, then this half of your mailbox, the pattern's going to be going that way. And I'll show you what I mean in a second, as soon as this glue gets. So I chose a pad of paper that had a pattern this way. So see, the pattern is going the right direction. But if that pattern continued all the way up the 12 by 12 sheet, then when I looked at the mailbox on this side, this is the bottom, the pattern would, you know, like the trees would be going upside down or something. So you don't want to do that, okay? So think about the pattern paper. So either a pattern or a piece with a pattern that doesn't matter which direction you go, or a pattern that only has directional elements on half of it, or like a plaid, or I don't know, something, a floral that doesn't matter which direction you go. Okay, so we're close. Now we got to get the back and then the front with the door. Okay, so I'm going to set that there. Now, I measured this. I'm going to make sure that it's going to work. Yep. Okay, so these, I need two, because one's going to be for the back and one's going to be for the front. And I'm going to do the back and the front door exactly the same way until we get ready to finish it. So I got a piece of paper, well, two, that are 5 inches by 6 inches. I scored 1/2 inch on each side. Let me grab my pencil again. So 1/2 inch on each side, okay? I'm gonna work on one. And then I measured up from the bottom on the score line 3.5 inches, okay? Put a little mark on each side. And then right in the middle, I measured up 5 1/8 of an inch. That's my top. That's this piece. That's that point right there. So from there to there was 5 1/8. Hopefully it still is on my sample when it was. And then it starts to curve at that 3.5 inch. So it's straight up to 3.5 inches, and then it curves around that top. So to make the curve, what I did is I took a circle nesting die, because I'm not very good at drawing an arc. And this particular nesting die is 4 inch. It's a 4 inch from my stitched edge nesting dies. And I just lined it up so that the edge of the nesting die touched the two 3.5 inch marks and the 5 1/8 inch mark at the top, like that, and drew a pencil line right around. Okay, I did the same thing on both pieces of paper. And then I don't want to cut at that pencil line because I need like a glue tab, right? So I just kind of, and this doesn't have to be perfect, so I just kind of sketched, starting at that 3.5 inch, I just kind of sketched an arc about 1/2 inch beyond that pencil line, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our scissors and cut that arc at the second pencil line, not at the 5 1/8, not the line that you drew with the die, but the outer line, okay? And we're going to go ahead and score in our 1/2 inch on both sides. And then starting right at that 3.5 inch mark, we're going to just take little snips up to that arc line every so often. And there's no real science to this. It's just you have to just snip out enough so that you can, you want them close enough together on that corner so that you can make it fit the corner. But so just like this. And we're going to do the same thing on both the front and the back. Okay, now we're going to review that again. So we took our 5 by 6 piece of paper, scored up 1/2 inch on each side, marked at 3.5 inches on each score line, scored right or measured right in the middle up to 5 1/8. Used our die to draw that circle, then just kind of sketched about roughly 1/2 inch beyond that, trimmed that cardstock off, and then just put those lines in. Now you're going to go through, and I did that twice. Okay, once for the front, once for the back. Now, the other thing we need to do is we need to snip 1/2 inch off, because this is going to go on here down all the way down to there. So we can't have that. It's going to go like this. So I got to get rid of that 1/2 inch because it's going to tuck on the inside. So take roughly about 1/2 inch and just cut a notch out of the bottom. You can measure up, but my scissors have little measuring on them, so I can kind of measure with my scissors. And again, if it's not perfect, you know, if you're off by 1/8 of an inch or something, it's not the end of the world. Okay. Now, I want to mat and layer these before I get too much further. So I'm going to use this side of the paper on, yeah, I'm going to use this side on the front and then this green on the back, because I don't want that one. I think I'll use the green. Or do I do the green on both? Maybe I'll do the green on. Oh, no, I'm going to use this one on. So to mat and layer them, we're going to do something very similar. We basically need to take our pieces of paper, and where's my ruler? There it is. So this one we aren't going to bend, so it's going to be just the 4 inches across. So we're going to measure, we need a piece that's 4 inches. And then, so let me actually just cut it to 4 inches, that'd be easier. Okay, cut the other one to 4 inches. And then we want a 5 1/8 inch high. So 5 1/8 and 5 1/8. Now we got to make our corner, our arch, right? So I'll take that same die and center it up. Now in theory, this point, if we're touching that top and both sides, this point should be at 3.5. So let's see, 1, 2, 3.5. Yep. So we're just going to kind of center that up, draw again around that die, and that created our arc. I don't know if you can see that very well, but and we're just going to cut our circle. And that should match exactly. And look at that. It does. Okay. So again, put this on so that it's touching the top and the sides. Draw on the outside. Going to kind of follow that curve with our scissors. And then that's going to glue onto there to mat and layer our back and our door. Okay? So let's go ahead and put that on. Okay. Oh yeah, I was thinking I'd do it that way. But now that it's cut, I'm not sure I like that. Oh no, that'll look good. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Do it this way. Okay. All right. Now for the challenge. So you're going to take your piece and see all these little cuts. You're going to bend them down right at that pencil line. So the easiest way that I've found to do it is to take your fingernail or something, put in there and just bend them down. And if you've cut the little strips small enough, they actually bend down pretty easily. Just like that. Okay? Now that's going to go, let's see. Yeah. Is that my front? Yeah, I'm going to put it on this side. So this is going to go in here. Now, the challenge is you got to get it so these are inside there. So each tab is on the inside. This is glued to that. That's glued to that. And then all these little tabs are going to tuck inside there. And is it going to fit? Looks like it's just a little bit too tall. Every time you make this, because this is just an arch and it's really hard. Like I've done this twice now, and every time the top part is just a little bit different height. One of them was 5 inches, one of them was 5 1/8. This one looks like it's closer to 5. So it's okay though, because, well, actually, yeah, so that's going to fit in there. But what I'm going to have to do is trim, if you can see, that bottom part is going to need to come off just about 1/8 of an inch. So we're just going to trim that bottom piece off. And then I'm going to have to trim up this side as well. So yours may fit exactly right, and it may not. But the other thing that I found is the easiest way to glue these in is kind of get them in and then glue so that it fits. Then glue the bottom and the sides, the straight sides, and then tuck the little pieces in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue on here. I'm going to put some glue on these little straight tab, the 1/2 inch tabs. Okay. And we're going to start with just that and get that piece in, that piece in. Don't worry about the little folded tabs, as long as they will fit in there. And to get those straight tabs to fit, or to dry, you're probably going to have to reach inside and hold them, at least for a second, for that glue to dry. Okay. Now, go through a few at a time and put glue on the little tabs and tuck them in and glue them down. And you can kind of maneuver the underneath to make it work. Okay. So you tuck them in. There we go. And if you maneuver them from the inside, it's a little bit easier. I don't know if you can't see, but I've got my hand on the inside kind of gluing those in. And we're going to flip it and do this side the same way. I know you're not going to be able to see this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a bead of hot glue right around the inside, right, let me use my pokey tool, right along this edge, just to glue those down, because I don't think my tacky glue is going to do it. So what I did is I tucked all those little tabs in, and then from the inside, I put a glob like a ring of tacky glue all the way along that edge and just kind of pressed it down with my pokey tool to hold it. And that's gonna, I think that's gonna do a much better job. Okay, now we're gonna work on our front. The front's easier. So the first thing we gotta do is we're gonna score at a 1/2 inch right across that bottom piece, because this is gonna attach there and then it's gotta open. So it's gotta fold down. So we're gonna score across at 1/2 inch. I'm gonna score on both sides since I've matted and layered it. So this is gonna fold that way because that's gonna glue onto here so that our door opens that way. Okay, so we're gonna fold those little tabs down just like we did on the other side. This one's easier, I promise. Okay, and then we're going to take a strip of cardstock that's 3/4 inch wide, and then I went ahead and matted this one, layered it up, and this is a 12-inch piece of cardstock. I don't need 12 inches, but it's easier to do a 12-inch and then figure out, cut it what you don't need. And what you're going to do is you're going to glue it on to this tab, level with that and level with that, not all the way down here, right level with that tab, and then you glue it around up to here, and then you can glue all those little tabs onto it all the way around to the other side, and that makes your little door. Okay, so I'll show you. So we're going to start with the straight piece, and we're going to glue this on right up to that edge and right up to this front edge. And it's actually easier to kind of put it down. It's harder for you to see, but then it's, you know that it's pushed down against something hard. And then you're just gonna curve it around and glue all these little tabs down. So you can fold them in, put some tacky glue on each one, and just do, you know, I don't know, 10 at a time, and then wrap that strip of cardstock around. Now you could have done the same thing on the back as a, instead of tucking it in, because this one's going to fit over the top this way, and then you would have just had like an extra strip of decoration or something on the back, and it probably would have been easier. Because you don't have to tuck inside, so the fit isn't quite as critical. And then we're going to go down this strip. All the way to the end. And that created your little door. And then we're going to snip off this extra edge. So see, you needed shorter than 12 by 12, but it's easiest to just do it a 12-inch strip and then cut off what you don't need. And then, because if you measure it and get it wrong, then you got to do it again. And so then we're going to glue this strip onto there and see how that's going to fit right over the top of that to close your mailbox. Okay. So if you put it on and just push it down, hold it, let that glue grab. Okay, and there you go. Look at that. Now it's just decoration. So I'm gonna, oh, one more thing. So I made a little flag because every mailbox needs to have a flag. This is just a 1-inch strip of cardstock that's 8 inches long. And then this piece is 2 inches by 3 inches. And then I just matted, layered, and decorated. And I'm going to put it right like that on one side. I'm just going to glue it up the one side. I'm going to put it on this side because the other side is got that pretty pattern on it. So I'm going to put more decoration on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that. I did double this, that green cardstock. It's 2 layers so that it's a little bit stronger since it's got to stick up there. Now you could put it on with a brad if you wanted to be able to, you know, move it up and down, but I was just going to leave mine permanently in the up position, so I'm just going to glue it on there. Okay, just like that. All right, I'm going to decorate it and I'll be back with you in a few minutes. Okay, I've got it all decorated. And as you can see, let me spin it around. I cut a lot of foliage, a lot of pine cones and poinsettias, and the door opens. Isn't that cute? All it needs is a little letter to Santa to go inside there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching.